So where do they get the rapture? That's really what we want to focus on. In one of our last questions, we looked at the Luke passage, but we saw the problem with that is the people who are taken wind up on a heap of dead bodies. So there you want to be left behind. But there is another passage we need to take a look at, and this is Paul's letter to the Thessalonian church. For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a loud command, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. After that, we who are still alive and who are left will be caught up together, and then in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will be with the Lord forever. People say, see, this is where Christ's followers are taken away from the earth. One of the challenges with that is if you read around the rest of Paul's letters, when God comes, he comes down, and there's a new heaven and a new earth, what Paul calls new creation. And he says all of creation is waiting for the restoration of God's people. So it would make no sense for them to be taken away if creation is renewed. So what is Paul getting at? Well, back then, if your city was threatened, then the leader of your city, often called the king, would take an army and go out to battle. And everybody would wonder, what's our future? Are they going to win the war? Are they going to lose the war? Will we be slaves to those who conquer us, or will we stay free? And usually what would happen is, however the outcome of the battle, and we'll assume victory in this case, a messenger would come and come back to the city. And that messenger, if it was victory, would say, our king has conquered, we remain free. And there'd be a huge celebration. And then they would say, make the highway ready for the king. So everybody would go out and they'd go to the main road that leads outside the city and clean it up. Get rid of everything from horse and cattle manure to rocks, and just kind of make it look nice. Then the king and the army would come, and maybe about a mile out from the city, they'd stop, and the whole city would come out to greet the conquering king. There'd be big celebration, lots of hugs and high fives, and then the king and the city would go back in the city, and the party would really get started. And if we read at the end of Revelations, that's exactly what happens, is Jerusalem and God and the army come down, and there's a new heaven and a new earth. So that makes more sense of the text than using it to interpret that we'll all be taken away from the earth, because that wouldn't have made sense to the first century readers who were aware that you meet the conquering king away from the city, then you come back into the city. Even if we literally do go up in the air to meet Jesus, again, from the people's experience, then we would literally go back down to the earth, and then Christ would reclaim earth as his own.